Hi there, this is Robert of MayflowerBookshop.com, and today I still have the astrology hat on, and I want to talk about some of the aspects astrologically for November and December. Now, I just published a little talk on Comet Leonard, but it's nice it has the Leo and the art, Leonard, with duh. Fourth letter's manifestation of the sunshine of the heart. The sun rules Leo, and it's the heart. So I have a little talk on that. It's very amazing that this comet is coming down from Ursa Major, the Great Bear. I see it as the Great Mother coming down, and through the head chakra, the top crown chakra, delivering a message to each and every one of us in our heart. But right now I want to tell you about the astrological aspects. I had written something up on it, and I lost it. A lot of crazy things have been happening to websites around the world, and mine got lost. So I just want to give you a very quick analysis. We went through some pretty hard aspects November 10th, and give or take a couple days around that, with the Mercury-Mars conjunction, Mercury square Saturn, Mars square Saturn. And that's like hard talk and scary stuff around the world. And the markets, Saturn gives control over the stock markets. I mean, they're printing money and keeping it. A lot of people are investing and making it go, and it's not going to fail unless the government fails, basically, many people think. But those are tough aspects for hard work and severity and slowly but surely turning cold, right? So it's been getting cold. There was a Sun trine Neptune on the 12th for dreaminess and ideals about the future that we're trying to manifest. Mercury opposed Uranus the morning of the 13th, but influencing a few days before and possibly after. Mercury-Uranus opposition is changing your thinking. And things keep changing. We're always adjusting ourselves for ever-changing conditions and new news that comes forth. And a lot of news is kind of shocking, what people do and how they treat each other. And obviously there's a lot of difficulties with the confinement of COVID and the problems of the world. And 25 million refugees or something in the world today. So we have a lot of problems in rediscovering and maintaining our sense of brotherhood and sisterhood with the world, our humanitarian compassion with wisdom to be able to really do something and not just waste our time and other people's time. The thing, Sun square Jupiter on the 15th, on the Monday, makes for a more positive view, but we're constantly going between the extremes of positive and fun and idealistic versus negativities and suffering and fear and the hatred around us in the world and difficulties. And there's the combination of really good and really bad aspects. And the whole idea of Buddhism and Christianity and all the spiritual religions of the warm heart and loving kindness and peace for the world with wisdom, with intelligence to participate, be interactive and not just watch it on TV. So all the great religions wanted to find a balance, a balance between going to extremes and opposites. And acting out of separateness is considered by ancient India to be the only sin that causes suffering, unnecessary suffering. So anyway, that brings us up to November 17th on a Wednesday. And again, you can feel this earlier on the 16th, but it happens exactly on the 17th. It probably influences, a week or two before and after in a subtle level. Mars opposed Uranus. Number one aspect for accidents and turnarounds and upsets and shaky stock markets and electrifying extremes in nature, problems with computers and electrical outings and crashes and accidents, travel difficulties. I mean, it's a really dangerous aspect with the moon conjunct Uranus and the moon opposing Mars, there definitely can be conflict and arguments and upsets and disagreements. The positive side is bravado. It's a dangerous time to gamble or take risk, but it's a great aspect for creative thinking and original thinking and doings and having some kind of breakthrough with freedom and understanding what would free oneself from unnecessary struggles or suffering. That's one of the major aspects. It seems to be in a lot of people's charts, from the White House to the stock markets and to leaders around the world. And I have to say that this comet that is coming to January 3rd perihelion, run by the sun, at about 13 degrees Capricorn, opposing the United States sun sign. And I feel that this has to do with angelic and archangelic messages that the spiritual hierarchy, or the gods, the virtues, or God, if you want to use that word. There's all the world leaders, Capricorn, and the heads of corporations are getting a very strong message of what ethically we could do to have a better future. Let's hope that's what's happening. And comets often bring new people in, and new people rise up to the top, and other people leave all of a sudden. Mark Twain was born on a comet and predicted he would go when it came back. Now, this comet coming is an 80,000-year parabolic cycle, so we won't expect it back very soon, but maybe never. Probably never. And then, so Wednesday's a critical day. You want to be extra safe in these coming days. And with Mercury trine Neptune in the morning of the 18th on Biden's birthday, well, that might be happy, positive tidings that President Biden will have prophetic dream and very strong ideals and a reimagination of the future. A lunar eclipse takes place. A lunar eclipse takes place, full moon, on the 19th, on Friday. And that happens very early in the morning. So this whole week is a full moon buildup. The full moon makes people act without thinking. The animal part comes out, or the automatic machine, and the human warm heart of understanding, compassion, and kindness has to be worked into it. Otherwise, it's too rough. But with the Mercury trine Neptune and Venus trine Uranus come Thursday and Friday, with the full moon at 27 Taurus, especially affecting the latter degrees on a good way with Capricorn and Virgo, possibly. And it's an aspect where people can make $1 million or lose $1 million. So you have to be very careful. That 27-degree Taurus is it's associated with how to get rich. And you can get, it's my belief at the MayflowerBookshop.com and Mayflower Bookshop that we need to be rich inwardly. We need to have spiritual gifts and virtues and capacities. We need to develop our virtues and our capacities and our art and play, and find a work that doesn't hurt the earth nor wound our soul. A work that makes us feel like we're co-creative with the whole of the earth and the future evolution. So that Venus trine Uranus and Mercury trine Neptune is a real strong impulse on the 18th and 19th to connect with positive, loving, kind, spiritual, visionary people, situations, and work. The lunar eclipse is often associated in that late Taurus with difficulties in some places where you could lose your money. Other places, you could gain it. But I'm requesting that you don't take any risk, especially these next few days into the 17th with the Mars opposing Uranus. The Mercury square Jupiter is tons of new ideas on the 20th, if you're capable of freeing yourself from fear and desire. The Sun goes into Sagittarius on the 21st. I hope you're taking notes. the moon goes into Cancer and the sun in Sagittarius. So there's this vortex of planning for the future and travel and how to expand while we're maintaining our home. We're learning and growing and educating ourselves, becoming richer inwardly, and we're trying to make the whole earth a home, but it's starting with our own home. Mercury goes into Sagittarius on the 21st, so higher spiritual thinking will come into play the day before Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving has the moon opposing Saturn squaring Uranus, so it's part of that Uranus square that takes place for the third time and last time as we get to Christmas, right? It happens on Christmas Eve. And Christmas Day is Venus conjunct Pluto. So Christmas Eve and Christmas Day are very rough days too. And stick with me because December 31st, I think it's like the beginning of a change. As we go into the new year, Jupiter goes into Pisces, and we're going to experience, Jupiter goes into Pisces actually on the 28th, late in the night. But at the end of the year, we start to experience a joy to the world. And I think that everyone wants peace in the world. Whatever we went through the last couple of years and what we're about to go through this week and Christmas, everybody wants peace in the world. Everyone's tired of this. War, perpetual war, and inequality with opportunity. You can't just throw money at people because nobody knows what to buy that would make them happy for lasting time. That's one of the reasons I've had Mayflower Bookshop for so long, is to try to educate people in very diverse ways of spiritual, religious, theology, holy meditation, yoga, right? And astrology at the very minimum is that we're looking up to rhythms of the planets and stars that animate the form. Okay, back to astrology. We're in November. Sun conjunct Mercury the night of the 28th, where Hanukkah begins at sundown. So that's a really special holy time of clear light, the sun, golden light, heart, and mind, Mercury. The heart and mind are the two wings of the soul. Mars trines Neptune on the 29th of November. Bravado and strong dreams of positive intent. Mars and Neptune can be creative imaginations and great dreams and ideals, but it takes a little bit of work and wisdom to manifest and incarnate such high ideals. Venus sextile Neptune on the 30th, a lot of social kind of love and interaction going on the 28th, 30th of November. Very nice. As we go into December, I just want to remind you that I had predicted against the 300 other top astrologers in America that Trump would win the first election, and at the same time that he would lose the next one to whoever ran. At the moment, he has really good aspects, as does the governor in Florida for the next election. And Mr. Biden obviously has very difficult aspects. If you've been following my astrology talks and you're a subscriber, then you know that I've been predicting this is going to be a rough next election. And but spiritually speaking, we can meditate and do virtuous works and sacrifice and surrender ourselves to higher octaves of the music of our life. And we can make anything happen. And how do we honor the collectivity of America while we're really honoring the individual expression of the higher spirit? From the spiritual point of view, we're all one. Outwardly, we're all different expressions of that oneness. And the work we have is to awaken some kind of mind and intelligence and loving kindness. There's no other word for intelligence, but it's not a good enough word. We're trying to awaken a participatory, joyful involvement and two-way street and intelligence with our unique expression of the oneness, our attunement and toning to the oneness, atonement. When we atone, it's like a tone. We're hitting the tone of oneness and uniquely expressing it. When everything is on the outside, when everything's by what culture we're at and skin color and money, and that is important. But the most important is that we're attuned to a great universal love and truth. There is no religion higher than truth, according to Blavatsky, H.P. Blavatsky. We attune to this higher oneness, and we each have a unique gift to give to the earth and to each other. And when we give that gift, we can receive what the world has for us. Okay, back to December. Oh, and I've been predicting that next year is going to be way more fun and easy. And with Jupiter trining the United States, Venus and Jupiter, Venus and Sun, as we go into 2022, you would really think the COVID thing would be in check, but I thought it might have happened earlier, and it almost did a few times. Jupiter in the spring, we all thought it was going to happen then, but Jupiter went retrograde, and now it's coming forward to complete and finally arrive at this trine to the United States chart, the USA's chart from 1776, when Jupiter would trine the Venus and the Sun. That's a lot of happiness and probably more babies, and hopefully we won't just party it away and walk into more difficult aspects later. Okay, what are the most important aspects in December? Mercury square Neptune around the 7th. Be careful of misunderstandings, misconceptions, illusions or delusions or lies, being overinflated or infatuated with something, blind believing, rather than from experience and reality. And then it goes into the 8th with Mars square Jupiter, where there's a lot of energetic going into the moon conjunct Jupiter. 8th and 9th can be very social and fun. Same with the 7th. But you have to be careful of not overindulging and overdoing. And it's really good to take a break from any indulgence you have, whether it's drinking or smoking or medications that you can take yourself away from, medicines, herbs. You want to try to, once a week, fast maybe, or eat perfectly, so that you have a meditation and exercise, and that you can find clarity. And this is very important. If you want to be successful, you could be very successful that week, 7th, 8th, 9th. You could be very successful with something, but you could also lose by gambling or taking a chance or being inebriated or overdoing some indulgence. So take it easy on that week, because on the 11th of December, Venus conjuncts Pluto. It's going to go retrograde and give us problems on Christmas Day. The Venus conjunct Pluto on the 11th will give us a good warning. Possibly that warning will come even on the 10th. But the 11th and the 12th and 13th are very difficult. Strange weather. The really strange weather or craziness is this Mars opposing Uranus on the 17th, around the 17th of November. But when we get to this 11th, is there weird warming ups, or is it weird chilling factors of life and weather can go to extremes? Those who are committed to a deep sense of sobriety and love, those who have a mission, a spiritual mission, a virtuous proclivity in art, you can get very obsessed with something that you could overdo your obsession. But 11th, that weekend is really intense for making connections. And the Sun square Neptune on the 12th of December is high illusions and delusions, but it's also the arts and music and creativity and, the passing and the birth. Some people would be giving birth to babies, and other people would be giving birth to their higher self out of their heart, and other people will be giving birth to their environment. But Venus-Pluto is going to extremes and having intense feelings of either rejection or attraction. All the astrology aspects, as I say in my Astrological Aspects, the Art astrology book that you might want to get, because it's really a transmission more than it's more than just a book. It's like an attempt to talk about esoteric astrology and the many possibilities. And yes, I needed a better editor, but it's really good for giving you a lot of creative ideas if you don't already have them. Because a lot of astrology becomes mechanical and simplistic and trying to get your desires fulfilled and avoid your fears and whatever you don't like, the likes and dislike game of the astrology, the astral body. So there's a higher octave to astrology where the higher self comes into view, and that higher self incorporates a oneness with all the planetary aspects. There's no planetary aspect that's not good. Everything is karma and dharma. And when you're at the still point of your chart, when you're at the center still point, you're the master of ceremonies at the midheaven, MC, the master of ceremonies. And the still point at the center of the chart is the stillness within ourselves is free of karma. Once you move with the moving planets and wandering stars, which are called the planets, those are the lords of karma and the timekeepers. So something always happens when you have these intense aspects. What's going to happen depends on your unique astrology chart. Like if you have the Venus-Pluto conjunction on the 11th, making a beautiful trine to some planet you have, it could be really good. But if you had, and you could, beautify yourself, but a lot of people might buy things or buy into things that don't make them feel beautiful if it's making a difficult aspect to your chart. So it's good to have your astrology chart at hand. And there's plenty of astrologers, and even the Mayflower Bookshop sells Solar Fire astrology program for your laptop. And we can tell you how to get even free astrology programs that are very simple, but you can see your chart. Astrology is a really fun thing to study. And as you probably know, all the great Gothic cathedrals in Europe, in their rose glass window, like you'll see the three doors for the thinking, feeling, willing, or physical, emotional, mental. The three doors you enter the cathedral. The Gothic cathedral was based on Templar wisdom and Hermetic, spiritual, ancient wisdom in Christology, Christos, even Druid stuff. And so you walk in those three doors, but the second layer is the rose window. That's the soul. And the top of the church is more the spirit. And there's a whole conversation I have about entering the cathedral and going to the transept and being at the crossroads and having the six directions meet your heart as the seventh principle of Atma, or stillness, wholeness. That's a whole nother wrap. So I'm getting a little bit lost, but I'm saying that astrology is an ancient and future art that's ever changing, that we're ever having to adapt astrology to modern conditions and new event horizons, such as the new comet or certain exoplanets or even asteroids. Sometimes the seven major chords of music, seven notes of music, are kind of co-equal to the seven major planets and chakras, and that's a whole nother story that astrological theosophy of the Rosicrucian can get into. So the Sun square Neptune on the 12th is a fun escape. People escape, but you got to be careful getting too high or drunk or nostalgic. Neptune tends to steal you from the future. The Sun square Neptune on the 12th of December can displace one from the present by throwing one into the past or future. That's the danger of these Neptune aspects I've mentioned. One can get carried away with not being here and noticing what's going on. The moon conjunct Uranus on the 15th makes us bright, clear. If we don't have reality, it shocks us. The full moon, 27 Gemini. Now I want to mention the new moon in December is a solar eclipse on the 4th at 12 Gemini. And that can be people who are Geminis, Virgos, the middle of Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. That the new moon eclipse is that you may find yourself very sensitive to what's going on in the whole world, and your psychic abilities and your intuitive spiritual proclivities can be enhanced. For some people, things get eclipsed or cut out of their life. Eclipses kind of force you to be more sensitive and intuitive and aware of everything that's going on around you, or they can eclipse things of your life. A lot of suffering comes when our consciousness has been over-identified with form, and we get divorced from that form or that person or that thing or that job. And a lot of times things leave us because we couldn't figure out the next higher step to go. We couldn't figure out how to act from our higher self to take a further step in our evolution, in our consciousness and awareness. And because of that, it becomes time up and we get graded or something. Things have to grow now and we didn't know how to do it. And so things just happen to us that force us to grow. All difficult, painful experiences are either a debt of the past or a labor pain birthing a new you. All suffering is but the labor pain of a higher birth from the womb of the heart, soul, from the spirit of the world. And of course, Rudolf Steiner's Philosophy of Freedom. You can read it on Rudolf Steiner Archives. You can get it at Mayflower Bookshop. You can find it at the Anthroposophical Press. You can find a used one somewhere. Will help you, guide you to this idea of the sixth and seventh sense, that part of our knowing that can come to know all things, that part of our loving that can come to love all things. When you really know your garden, you love it. When you really know another person, whether you like them or not, love is bigger than like or dislike. We need to learn to love each other even if we don't like each other. Jesus said, love your enemies. Buddha clearly had the message, compassion for everyone's suffering. Starting with yourself, how hard we try. So it has to be some kind of inner spiritual work that meets these outer circumstances. And to just look at astrology so that we can win or get something that we want. When did we get something we wanted that made us happy, that lasted? These are important questions. And, you can go to jewelheart.org and hook up with Gaelic Rinpoche's friends to learn some really interesting, quick Tibetan Buddhism, lasting quality value. You can go to the Rudolf Steiner Anthroposophical Society on Getty's Road in Ann Arbor. Tell them Robert Thibodeau sent you. That's a wonderful place. I've been there many a time, and they have a library. And you could join up with the Anthroposophical guys, and they have lots of study groups all over Michigan and around the world. And you could go to the Theosophical Society in Berkeley, Michigan, or wherever you live. And you can find wonderful things there. And Blavatsky's books, and they have a library. That's on Woodward in Berkeley, a mile from Mayflower Bookshop. The Self-Realization Fellowship of Yogananda. It's not quite heavy-handed with this intellect that the Theosophists and the Steiner guys have, maybe, but it's very beautiful, heart-centered, devotional. You can read the Bhagavad Gita. You can hook up with the Vedanta Society. There are so many places to go, so many places. And there's so many arts and crafts and music. It's really important. If you learn to breathe, there's a book called Science of Breath and the 5 Tibetan Rites. And I really push it hard because once you learn to breathe right, you'll show up for yourself and you'll be able to play music easier. When you're trying to play music, it's hard to get your fingers to go where they're supposed to go, or your breath. But once you know how to breathe a little better, then it's real easy to drum or play piano or play guitar or whatever instrument you're after. It's really important that we have some artistic quality and beauty, that we have something we're doing that makes the world beautiful and good. And it's not even enough to be good, we have to be better. It's this combination of being stillness aware, listening with our heart, and this sense of intelligent becoming. Very important. And to keep our heart warm, our belly soft, and our mind open to learning. Because anger can take one like a fire and burn down your fort. And anger is the worst non-virtue, and attachment is the glue that keeps us stuck there. So that Venus-Pluto is associated with jealousy and attachment, and that's the 11th, and it's going to ride all the way into that retrograde that goes to Christmas, and then it happens a third time, which shouldn't be so bad, in January somewhere. So you're following me? So the new moon is where you make the wish 3 days before the new moon on the 1st of December. Make your wish. Ask any questions you have that you want answered between the new moon and full moon. Write down your dreams. This is a great secret. The practical new moon is usually 3 days after, 2.5 to 3 days after the new moon. So that would be after the early morning, somewhere in the night of the 6th and 7th, you're going to start to see a crescent moon, really beautiful. Mercury squares Neptune for more confusion and depression. It's really important if you're depressed. People get depressed because they don't really see their true self. And a lot of people in the world commit suicide. Some are very slow about it by ingesting the wrong medicines or drugs or whatever, or food. There's my favorite cookbook that I helped, that when I started Om Cafe, vegetarian macrobiotic restaurant, that lasted for a long time with Colleen Smiley, who really took it over with her own wings. That self-healing cookbook by Kristen Turner, which is available at Mayflower, was my Bible in the kitchen. I hope you can find it either at Mayflower or wherever, and you can incorporate it into your healthy lifestyle. And the other secret is chewing well. Chewing well, no matter what you eat, good or bad, right or wrong, chew it really well. The enzymes interact with the food and create amino acids, proteins, and vitamins. The healthier the food is, the longer you chew, the more it does that. That was Harvard Med School, a book, Food and Healing, talks about it. And then 2/3 of what you digest is in your mouth. Once you swallow it, you can only digest 1/3 of it with these strong enzymes of acid-alkaline enzymes. And if you're mixing acid and alkaline, sugar and salt, sweet and salt, or yin and yang foods, your stomach has a war going on in it, and you can gain weight. With sugar and grains, you can produce small amounts of alcohol. Harvard Med School again. And potatoes have small amounts of nicotine. You can get addicted to potato chips. It's good to learn what's going on, so at least you have a choice. Okay, so the next crazy aspect, we mentioned Sun square Neptune on the 12th, where you can get displaced from the present and be thrown into the past and future and lose your presence. The whole thing is being present. Venus goes retrograde on the 19th of December, 5:36 a.m. You may want to buy your presents for Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever you celebrate, Kwanzaa, New Year's. You want to get them early and before some of these crazy aspects, because the Venus retrograde will be people trying to return stuff or not being able to find what they want. But also Venus retrograde is taking a research or a restocking of what is love and what is conversation and pure thinking. How can we share our hearts and our minds in a creative way that our spirit soul can also converse with the life around us and each other? So that might be an interesting day for some people. Again, these kind of aspects, some people have a sudden turn of luck and good fortune, and other people have to face their music, whatever it is. Sun goes into Capricorn on the winter solstice on the 21st, and you can count 13 days from then to January 3rd, like the 13 lunar months of the year. And you can see and predict what happens each day for each lunar month. That's a way of predicting. The other way of predicting is you start at Christmas and go to 12 days of Christmas. And yeah, I mean, I've experimented with both ways and they both can work. I have a favorite way, but I'm not saying right at the moment. But I did leak it out a little bit with my talk on the Comet, I think. The solstice is the longest night and shortest day, and it's a recapitulation of the Saturn evolution. And Rudolf Steiner's Outline of Esoteric Science might be the most important book to read of Rudolf Steiner's, followed by How to Know the Higher Worlds and The Path or Road to Self-Knowledge. If you're stuck on Christianity, which is a beautiful thing sometimes to be stuck on, Rudolf Steiner's Christianity is a mystical fact that the solar logos, the wisdom, love, and will of the sun, has come to earth during, sometime during the 300 BC to 400 AD, maybe more exactly when the timing of the Christ, Jesus the Christ, maybe. And that each of us got an I am, whether you believe in Jesus or not, each of us got an I am, everything, nothing in a mind. And each of us got a sense of belonging to the universe, and that we have a direct connection to spirit and the world soul, the world spirit. So that the winter solstice is a recapitulation of the Saturn evolution, followed by the sun, moon, and earth evolution, when the Christos appears to the heart intelligence on the Christmas, the 25th. So, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th. And then, and that is the birth of the ego. Whether it's the troublesome ego that separates us from the oneness of all life and our own stillness and the stillness of others, so that when we die, we'll still be here. Even now, the stillness can be a door, a magic conversation with the higher dweller of the threshold, with the Christos within, the Christ within us, the Buddha within us, the Om within us, the I am, the higher self. So a little bit this is mystical poetic language to spark and inspire, because if spirituality and art and mysticism was the logic of 1 + 1, which we need 1 + 1 = 2, we may need 1 and 0 as the emptiness and a oneness, not just a computer allogram and arithmogram and Aramanic thing. So, okay, I'm getting back here so that we can find the new moon on the 4th and the full moon on the 18th in Gemini, 27. And that's going to be a peak of experience, of knowledge and new insight. And it's kind of like going as far as we can with knowledge and technology and new breakthroughs and travel and cars and tech, computers, all that stuff, the tech guys. And then it breaks down as we go to the next couple weeks till the next new moon in January. It breaks down to what works and what doesn't work. And we have the solstice on the 21st, and then we have, and I mentioned Mercury trine Uranus, which is really smart on the 20th, networking and communicating and catching up. But then we have this very difficult aspect. Saturn square Uranus will sum up. It will really come to a conclusion, this struggle and stress between security and freedom, between home and work, between inner and outer, between wisdom and feeling alive, security and tradition versus novelty and a sense of newness. That is on the 24th. I think that all of us should be kind of prepared and settled back for these days and not go running around at the last minute, because it would be very difficult at that time. And the 25th is Venus conjunct Pluto, where there can be some deep inner warmth and connection, but there can also be a feeling of estrangement and aloneness. Now, Plato makes it really clear, and so did my first spiritual teacher, Philip Knight, that when you can be alone, Plato thought at the end of his life that you could get rid of all the other teachings, that you discover something new. And when he shared it with his students, he said, what is it that he's this new great sense of awareness, transcendental whatever, spiritual whatever. He said it's the flight of the alone to the alone. The all one, you get it? Alone spells all one. So it's not lonely when you're alone with yourself in meditation. It can be a direct conversation with God. Silence is the door to the Father. Go to the Father and all else is given you. Be ye perfect like your Father in heaven. Father, forgive them. They know not what they do, Jesus says on the cross. They're not invoking the mother at this moment. That's a thing of wisdom and all the matters of the worlds. They're invoking the Father, which is the oneness and primordial stillness that takes in everything and knows everything and has infinite possibility. This is one way to look at it. I mean, we could reverse the whole thing and say the Fatherland and the father's invested himself in the material world and that the mother's the great womb of silence. I mean, you can do that. These are deep spiritual, esoteric ideas that only a virtuous wish, only the wish for happiness for everyone, only the altruistic, compassionate, transcendental, Mahayana, Prajna Paramita, only the mind that's trained in virtues can dare to safely enter the silence, because normally you would meet the lesser dweller on the threshold, which Steiner talks about. You can look it up in Books at Mayflower or Rudolf Steiner archives. Buller Lytton was the first to talk about it, previous to Steiner. Early Theosophy makes mention of it. Blavatsky talks about electricity and Ahriman and the dweller on the threshold. So this meeting of the lesser dwellers, when we meet all of our unresolved desires and fears, we meet our unaccomplished self. We meet our limitations. And it can just make us totally depressed and crazy. We see our mistakes. And it's only by the wish for enlightenment and entering into the solitude of our own aloneness and conversing with our higher self, the higher power, God, for lack of words. It's only this inner working on ourselves, both through developing meditation, mantra. Steiner has mantras, Om Mani Padme Hum, but developing a scientific mind and a spiritually scientific mind, having common sense, being a human being, accepting your mistakes. It's no mistake if you're willing to learn from it and pay the consequences. I guess we have to. Everybody. Nobody would be here if we didn't have more to learn and we didn't have some kind of karma to work out and transform into the Dharma. Everything can be the Dharma. Everything can turn into the process of illumination and education of the soul to become free and enlightened. That's to awaken our sixth and seventh sense, our soul and spirit, to work through our senses that have been clarified and purified. This is the message of the full moon, 11:36 p.m. exactly on the 18th of December. Hope you're taking notes. Venus goes retrograde on the 19th. Mercury trines Uranus on the 20th for all ahead go. Pretty successful, being busy. The winter solstice on the 21st. The sun enters Capricorn at 10:59 a.m. Good to have a quiet moment around then. But any time in that day, and especially from the solstice all the way to January 6th, really. Especially, though, for those first 4 days, then 12 days, yeah. Then we have the Saturn square Uranus for world problems and world solutions on the 24th. We have the Venus conjunct Pluto, where there's compassion and sadness over the past. People are too critical because the moon's in Virgo. The moon goes into Virgo Christmas Eve, very early in the morning, so you got to be very careful of taking it personal on criticism. Be constructively critical, but you have to be very careful. If you want to know what the moon in Virgo means, just stay awake on the 24th and 25th of December. Great aspect for cleaning up other people's messes and making them not resentful, I guess. But if you had too much of that, go hide. Meditate. Ring your bell in private. The fourth quarter begins on the 26th, 9/24, where we all have a lot to think about as we enter the end of the year. Kind of a tricky day. On the 28th, Jupiter goes into Pisces. The moon's in Scorpio. There's a sense, on 27th, 28th, and 29th, there's a sense of trying to get our last yayas out or something. There's a danger of rushing into the future or falling back into past mistakes. One has to be very present to understand, out of wisdom and compassion, the subtle changes that are taking place for the coming year. One could really have important dreams during this time. You know, around the 12th you could have dreams, but you have to interpret it correctly. But here, the dreams are a little more clearer. And Mercury conjuncts Venus early in the morning of the 29th could be a very powerful dream and insight that comes to you. And that's all part of this comet. The comet that is coming is bringing us very spiritual message to each and every one of us and to collective humanity, especially to the leaders. And the people at the bottom of the pyramid, get inwardly rich, be fearless, don't blame others. We reincarnate and we have karma from hundreds of thousands of lifetimes. I'm not asking you to not fight for what's right, but let's do it in peace and harmony and intelligence. Let's make change by changing our inner self and becoming rich, that we then become rich outwardly, where we don't have to buy a $1 billion house. We don't have to have everything. And that we can be rich with qualities, capacities. We can have insights and a vocabulary of spiritual soul development, where everyone kind of wants to talk to you and share and buy you dinner. In fact, the books at Mayflower Bookshop, they're not books, they're dinner getters. If you read enough of those, you're going to get free dinners. People are going to want to talk to you. Do you get it? It's true. Okay. It's nice to sing a little bit. So then there's a practicality that comes the night of the 29th of December, but the earlier part of the day is loaded with creative thought and feelings, and a lot of goodness comes from the activities that take place. And there's a passion with the moon in Scorpio that carries us into the Mercury Scorpio morning of the 30th, Mercury conjunct Pluto. But we have to be careful of negative thoughts taking us over. And on the 31st, New Year's Eve, we have the moon in Sag. So people are going to be partying hardy. And with that Jupiter going into Pisces on the 28th, there's a really strong wish for happiness and melting into the situation. So if you're melting into the right situation, it's cool. So when we get to Saturday, New Year's Day, the Capricorn Sun trines Uranus, so it's quite a nice. That happens at 1:50 a.m. So New Year's Eve is going to be probably really good for most people, and a sense of real happiness as the moon in Capricorn sextiles Jupiter in Pisces. That'd be so refreshing, because Aquarius is like the struggle between security and freedom, and Pisces is I want to believe in something that feels good and that's going to make everybody feel good. Mercury goes into Aquarius for smarts on New Year's Day evening. And then when we look forward to the new moon on January 2nd at 12 Capricorn. And so again, that 12 Capricorn new moon is right with the comet that's coming on January 3rd. And January 3rd, the moon will conjunct Venus and Pluto, and Saturn's around. I mean, I think that we're going to have a huge reckoning of the world. Hopefully there's not going to be a world catastrophe. And that instead it's a world revelation, that we need peace and purity now. I know I'm a dreamer. I hope I'm not the only one. You can come and join us, and the world will be as one. Yeah, John Lennon tried it. A lot of people tried it. Francis of Assisi, a lot of saints and sages of every religion of all ages have tried to bring wisdom, intelligence to the human beings, and peace to the world. And it's important that each one of us gives it a shot. We have it every day. We need to at least sit in stillness and be willing to learn new ways of wonder. Venus goes into Capricorn on the 5th, makes for some pretty serious attitudes for a couple of weeks for when it comes to love and what we love and don't like, and are we going to return presents or keep them, and did we lock into long-lasting qualitative somethings. Friday the 7th of January, the moon in Pisces is pretty active with Neptune and Pluto, so take it easy on Friday, don't overdo, and you can have fun on that day with those aspects, but a lot of people tend to just escape or numb out. And Venus, the Sun conjuncts Venus in Capricorn on Saturday the 8th. Really good for love, friends, social, home. Whatever you love that's going to make you feel good, that is the day. And then, just to give you a couple more insights, Mars squares Neptune on the afternoon of January 11th on Tuesday. That's a crazy aspect where it's kind of confusing. You don't know what's real or not real. And it's great for the arts and music. It's great for daydreaming or catching up to your dreams. But it's not good if you're aggressive. You could get kind of lost, or if you're overindulgent. Mercury goes retrograde Friday, January the 14th, early in the morning. So Mercury goes retrograde is where things go astray, and don't start new projects unless you really know what you're doing. Don't start new things and make agreements and read the fine print. And Mercury retrograde is that you have to go back to go fix something. And it can be a kind of a crazy aspect. And the Sun conjuncts Pluto on Sunday the 16th. Is that a difficult travel day or weather or emotional day or struggles with power or powerlessness? The full moon happens on the 17th with the moon opposing Pluto. So there might be some pretty intense weather at certain parts of the world or intensification of threat or something. But Pluto's getting rid of stuff you don't need, throwing things away that you don't need. And it's a full moon in Cancer that is opposing that Pluto. So the power struggles of the world are present then. It's also a great aspect if we could do it for cleaning things up, purifying, dealing with ecological problems, or having to face them. Uranus goes direct. It's been retrograde for a long time on the 18th of January. Uranus goes direct means that it's time's up for trying to make the changes you want, and changes are just going to happen with or without us now for the coming months. And so Uranus in Taurus is a more creative approach to matters and money making and cars and breakthroughs in technology and excitement about the sun and astrology. It's great for astrology and new kind of programs that are finally working or something. New programs in computers. I mean, you got to be careful though with that aspect too. You might get around the 18th, some people will have troubles with electrical or computers and strong shifts in the weather or lightning or storms or whatever, quakes, I mean, sometimes crazy things can happen, and I'm not going into heavy duty research. I'm just sharing with you quick insights into the days. If you're planning something, you might want to plan on a good day. Sun conjuncts Mercury on the 23rd of January, which always brings about startling truths and revelations. Mars enters Capricorn on the 24th of January, which will bring us weeks of very creative assertiveness at work and play to get accomplished things and get things done. And but it can be kind of hard on people if you're a workaholic, and no play can make one kind of dull at times. But it's a good aspect if you're trying to achieve some goal. And Mercury enters Capricorn for clear thinking and practical long-term thinking. That's what Capricorn tends to do. Tends to be long-term thinking if you got a wise Capricorn on your hands. And the Venus goes direct on the 29th of January, so that we can take a deep breath about what is love and what do we love and who loves us as we go through the new moon, January 31st in Aquarius. That really helps us out. Eastern time, the new moon is on the 1st of February versus Pacific time on the 31st of January. So the new moon, hopefully I didn't make any of those mistakes on the new and full moons on what if it's Pacific time or Eastern. I think I did okay. It's going to be close. So, and that's good. So Tuesday, the new moon, the Lunar New Year in February, and that is in Aquarius, and that is a wonderful time that brings us into the Mercury going direct on the 3rd of February. That early February really starts to bring us back into some strong ideals of happiness and success and social life that bang into us at the end of January, going into February, because February is the beginning of these wonderful aspects with Jupiter on the United States, Venus and Sun. So I'll have another talk coming on the new year in astrology, and I'll have astrological predictions for each sun sign, and that would be in the future. If you enjoy this, feel free to donate. Feel free to share it with friends. Feel free to dare to learn, that we can every day learn something new, so we can discover something new in each other. If I learn something new, it's easier to find something new in you, right? So if we were all learning something new every day and we were all sitting in stillness, 3 minutes a day of meditation and stillness, as I say in a lot of my meditation little video talks on YouTube, 3 minutes a day of stillness, 20 minutes a day of new learning, books, musical instrument, 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, cleaning. The whole world could change overnight if we understood the true principles of reincarnation and karma and how to stop making difficult karma and make good karma. Anyone can do it. Milarepa did it. St. Paul was a really bad guy and converted, got hit by lightning, knocked off his horse. How many of us have been knocked off our horse? The whole game is to keep learning and have compassion and be willing to learn from one's mistakes and to learn from others' mistakes so we don't have to make that same mistake. So mayflowerbookshop.com, PayPal, if you're willing to donate, mflower, like M like in Mary, flower, mflower, one word, at AOL.com. And I think you can find that on my website. Mayflowerbookshop.com is my website. And this is Robert of Mayflower, Robert Thibodeau, author of Astrological Aspects, the Art, author of The Hermetic Laws of Wisdom. It's out of print. The Hermetic Dream, H.P. Blavatsky and me talking about dreams and astrology. And Soul Romance book, I think that's out of print. So lots of CDs and music that I've put out. Hundreds of songs, actually. I've been making music a long time, if you don't know. A little bit of something for everybody. Check out Song in Every Heart. Check out No Easy Way. Check out, you can go on my YouTube website, YouTube channel, and you can look up the songs that got more hits, probably some of the more exciting songs. And that's enough about me. I hope this astrology talk has helped you to bless your heart and awaken to a higher octave in the most practical, common, everyday, spiritually scientific ways. And the Dalai Lama, too, by the way, I just want to lastly mention, has some nice talks going on live once a week. So bless your heart. I'll talk to you soon.